Your name is Rick Grimes, and you're a deputy sheriff that just woke up from a coma after being shot by criminals. You find the world infested by zombies. Alone and confused, you search for your wife and son, but you're gonna have to be smart and ruthless to survive in this post-apocalyptic world. I'm going to break down the mistakes made, what you should do, and how to beat the zombies in The Walking Dead Season 1 Episode 1. I will be covering the rest of the Walking Dead series in future videos. Before we start the video, I just need like 15 seconds to quickly advertise to you. Subscribe to Showsplanation so you don't miss future breakdowns of your favorite shows. We have a Patreon in the description that you can donate to support this YouTube channel. Don't forget to visit mebomber.com for cool and funny clothing. The website, mebomber.com, is in the description. Alright, back to the video. The police are in a shootout with a car full of criminals. Sheriff Deputy Rick Grimes gets shot in the chest. Rick passes out after being shot. He was in a coma and finally wakes up in his hospital bed. He exits his room and is confused by how destroyed the hospital looks. He wanders around the hospital and finds a dead body on the hallway floor. Alright, this is a red flag. You wake up in an abandoned hospital with dead bodies on the floor. Something is wrong and you don't know how that person on the floor died. Maybe they were killed. Is the killer still in the hospital? These are questions that you don't know the answer to. It's time to play it safe and make an effort to be as sneaky as possible so nobody hears you. Grab some weapons. Hospitals are full of small objects and medical equipment that you can use as stabbing or blunt force weapons. Ideally, you want to grab one of the hospital's fire extinguishers. It can be swung to pummel enemies, and you can spray the fire extinguisher at someone's face to blind or disorient someone while you run away. Rick walks in the opposite direction of the dead body, not wanting to go anywhere near it. He sees more destruction and blood all over the hospital walls and floor. He stumbles upon a chain locked door that's spray painted with the words, "Don't open, dead inside." Gray rotting hands slide in between the doors. Rick is in panic mode and searches for an exit to the hospital. The elevator doesn't work, so he opens the door to the fire exit stairwell, and it's completely dark inside. Entering a pitch black area is too risky. You don't know who might surprise you in there, so save this as your last resort. Find a window and see what floor you're on. The average height of a building floor is 14 feet. You can survive a fall out of a second floor window with little to no injury, if you remember to bend your hips and knees upon landing to help absorb the impact. If you are on the third floor or higher, try checking hospital equipment closets for a flashlight before you enter the pitch black fire exit stairwell, like Rick just did. Rick lights the matches he found on a hospital desk. He slowly limps down the stairs. He finds and opens the exit door. He made it outside and walks down the hospital side stairs. He sees rows of dead bodies wrapped in white sheets. Rick is shocked, confused, and wants to throw up due to the smell of all these decomposing bodies. He walks out through the hospital entrance. Climbing up the nearest hill, he sees a helicopter in a yard full of military equipment and Humvees. This is the perfect time to finally grab some weapons. There's got to be guns and ammunition somewhere around here. Start searching. Rick doesn't bother to scavenge for weapons and just continues walking. The only thing he's done right is not attempt to steal a Humvee to drive if the keys were around there somewhere. You don't know what's going on yet, and doing anything that draws attention to yourself is a big no-no. Be as quiet as a ninja while you explore your surroundings and look for living people to help you. Rick doesn't know there's a zombie outbreak yet, so we'll excuse him walking in the middle of the street where he's easily seen. If you are in this situation and know what's going on, make sure you avoid open areas where you can be seen from a distance. Hug the side of areas as you travel, and crouch behind any available trees and fences that provide cover. Rick stumbles upon a bike next to another decomposing body. The decomposing body starts moving. Rick falls down in fear. The zombie starts crawling towards Rick. He hightails it out of there with the bike. Rick rides the bike to his house looking for his wife and child. The door is already open. This is a red flag. Who just leaves their door open, especially when zombies are crawling around? You need to be on high alert when you enter this house. This could be hostile territory. Grab a knife from the kitchen and then quietly search the house for your family. This is not the time to be screaming for people's names and alerting any nearby zombies to your location. Rick starts screaming his wife's name as he searches the house. Nobody's in the house and he breaks down crying. Rick walks out of the house still barefoot and in his hospital gown. For some reason, he did not grab a weapon, shoes, or a change of clothes. So if he's attacked by zombies, he can't fight back, and running away is gonna suck with no shoes on. Please don't be an idiot like Rick. make sure you at least grab a knife, some sneakers, and a gun if available. You may have to break into your neighbor's abandoned houses. There's a risk of being attacked by zombies hiding inside, but that beats walking around half naked with no shoes and no weapon. Also, scavenge houses for a backpack and canned food to eat. You just woke up from a coma and haven't eaten in who knows how long. You need to replenish your body's energy while you still can. Who knows what the future holds? This might be your last meal in a long time. Rick sits on his front porch to think. He sees a mysterious person walking in the street. That mysterious person is walking strangely, practically limping. This is a red flag that something is wrong with this person. They are probably a zombie. You should not be making contact with any strange behaving individuals until you have some way to protect yourself, in case you are attacked. Somebody sneaks up behind Rick while he's watching the zombie and hits him in the head with a shovel. The person that hit him is a black boy that thinks Rick is a zombie. The boy's name is Dwayne. The boy's father appears and shoots the zombie walking in the street in the head. Big mistake. The sound of a gun firing could alert any nearby zombies to your location, which is a big no-no if you're living anywhere nearby. Firing a gun should be a last resort if you don't plan on immediately changing locations. Opt for a more quiet weapon like an axe to hack at a zombie's brain. The father runs over to his son and Rick. The father's name is Morgan. Morgan discovers that Rick is still a human because zombies can't talk. Morgan sees Rick's bandages and points his gun at him because he thinks Rick may have gotten bitten or scratched by the undead, which will turn a living person into a zombie. Rick passes out from exhaustion and stress. Rick wakes up tied to a bed. Dwayne is in the room with a baseball bat. Morgan interviews Rick about his wound. Morgan decides Rick isn't an immediate threat and releases his hands from the ropes tied to the bed. The group has lunch together and find out Rick just woke up from a coma and doesn't know anything that's going on with the zombies called walkers, so they get him up to speed. If you were bitten or scratched by a walker, you'll die of a fever and then turn into a zombie. Car alarms go off outside. The group cracks open the window curtains to peep outside and they see a large group of zombies walking around. One of the zombies outside is Dwayne's mom/Morgan's wife. She's instinctively attracted to this house because it was where she was last with her family before she was turned into a zombie. The zombie mom walks up to the locked house's front door and tries to open the doorknob. The zombies are pretty smart. Most zombies in fiction are portrayed as too dumb to work a doorknob and typically only tear and push obstacles away. At this point, you should be asking questions like, are they smart enough to communicate with each other? And if so, how do they communicate? Until you know the answer to these questions, you should avoid even being seen by a zombie, unless you plan on killing it immediately after. It's the next morning and the group ventures outside. Rick beats a zombie's head in with a baseball bat that was sitting outside of their house. The only way to kill these zombies is to destroy their brain. The group walks over to Rick's abandoned house. Rick thinks his wife and son are alive and just relocated because the family photos in the house have been removed. A random thief would not have bothered stealing those. They don't have any value to anybody else. The group discusses a refugee center in Atlanta with food and protection that was described and broadcast before the radio stopped working. Also, the Center for Disease Control, or CDC, is there, supposedly working on a cure for the zombie problem. This is good news, but I would still be cautious if and when you arrive at the refugee center. Anytime many people are concentrated in one small area, it just takes one person being infected to possibly spread the zombie disease to everybody. They head to Rick's police station. Even though gas and light have been down for a month, the station has its own propane system, which is still working. The group excitedly takes their first hot shower in a long time. Morgan discloses that initially his family was headed to the Atlanta Refugee Center, but the entire city was in a panic. The streets and roads were too dangerous to travel, plus his late wife could not travel because of a medical condition, so they had to lay low in an abandoned house. The group finds guns still in the police station for them to take. They plan on separating because Morgan decides to stay a few more days to deal with personal and emotional issues before he's ready to leave the house. He plans to give his zombie wife a mercy killing before he leaves to Atlanta. Rick is going to head to the Atlanta Refugee Center by himself. This is a gigantic mistake. There's safety in numbers. The group should not be splitting up. Rick should have stayed with Morgan and his son for the couple of days that it takes them to mercy kill the zombie wife and get over whatever emotional roadblocks that they need to overcome. Or Morgan needs to understand that now is not the time for sentiments, emotions, or getting closure. Your priority is survival, so head for the Atlanta Refugee Center immediately with Rick. A zombie walks up to the police station as the group says their goodbyes. The zombie is one of Rick's police co-workers. Rick mercy kills the zombie. The group drives away in different directions. Morgan is back home looking at old photos of his wife while she was still a human. Then he sets up his sniper rifle by a window in preparation of shooting his zombie wife and walks around the house periodically. Morgan opens the window and starts killing zombies. He hopes the sound of the gunfire will attract other zombies to the area, hoping that one of them is his zombie wife. This is a dangerous game he's playing. He might just get more than he bargained for. You can't control how many zombies you attract with this noise. The situation could easily get out of hand. Morgan finally sees his zombie wife. He's crying and filled with emotions as he points the rifle scope at her head. He hesitates and can't follow through with shooting his zombie wife, and then starts crying even more. At this point, he's putting his own life and his son's life in unnecessary danger with this dangerous quest for emotional closure that he refuses to quickly wrap up. The more time he spends shooting loud guns out of a house window and then staying in that same house, the more chance he has of something bad happening. Rick is on the road heading to the Atlanta Refugee Center. Hopefully he has multiple filled gas cans ready in case his car runs out of fuel. You cannot depend on gas stations working for you to refuel. At this point, whatever gas that was left at abandoned gas stations is likely all gone now. You're going to have to siphon gas from nearby vehicles into gas cans for future use. Auto parts stores or Walmarts are likely destroyed and empty by now, so getting your hands on a gas siphoning pump is probably not going to happen if you don't already have one. You're likely going to have to siphon gas the old-fashioned way, which means inserting two separate tubes into the gas tank, sealing the opening with a cloth to create a closed pressure system, and blowing on one tube to create pressure that pushes gasoline through the other tube that's connected to your gas can. Be careful because it's easy to cough or choke if gasoline enters your mouth. When that happens, if the gas goes down the wrong way into your lungs, it can cause serious respiratory damage. Gasoline in your lungs can cause pneumonia and block oxygen from getting absorbed from your lungs into small blood vessels that service the rest of your body. This lack of oxygen in the bloodstream can cause serious illnesses including respiratory arrest, coma, and death. Anyway, so Rick is driving towards the Atlanta Refugee Center. He's on a radio transmitter broadcasting on an emergency channel and asking if anybody can hear his voice, hoping somebody still alive communicates with him. A woman hears Rick's broadcast and she rushes to the radio to speak with Rick, but she can't get her radio transmitter to work, so Rick cannot hear what she wanted to say back to him. She wanted to warn Rick that something is wrong in the city of Atlanta, so it looks like going to the Atlanta Refugee Center isn't the solution that Rick thinks it is, which is an outcome that he should have considered and planned for. Like I said earlier, anytime you have a lot of people concentrated in a small area, all it takes is one infected person to spread something to everybody. Avoid large gatherings. In these kinds of situations, it's actually safest to live next to a large gathering of people, but not directly with them. This gives you some distance so that you can comfortably react if something goes wrong inside the large gathering, while still being close enough to enjoy some of the benefits of the large gathering, such as free food and water. Anyways, a different woman is arguing with the group they belong to. She wants to leave the safety of the camp to intercept Rick before he arrives in Atlanta and gets killed. Turns out she's Rick's wife. She thinks he's dead and doesn't know it's her husband on the radio. The leader of the group doesn't want her to go. He thinks it's too risky and she has a son to take care of, aka Rick's son. Also, this guy is Rick's old police partner. Turns out Rick's wife and his old police partner have a romantic relationship going on. I'm excited to see how Rick reacts when he finds out his wife is banging his coworker. Anyways, Rick's car runs out of gas and he leaves the safety of the vehicle on foot. This is a major mistake. First of all, Rick did not take my advice to have backup fuel by siphoning gas from other vehicles while he was still in town. Then he chooses to walk next to the road leading to a major city. This is a recipe for being attacked by criminals and bandits that would likely use such a popular road to ambush people for resources. Rick stumbles upon a run-down looking house hoping to borrow some gas. He tries knocking on the door and looking through the window to see if the house is abandoned. He sees "God forgive us" written in blood on a wall inside the house next to dead bodies. Looks like the residents of the house probably committed suicide. Rick is disturbed by what he saw. He finds a truck outside and is reluctant to have to go inside the house with the dead bodies to search for the keys. However, he sees a horse as he's walking towards the house. In this situation, a horse is a better form of transportation. Horses don't run out of gas, so you don't have to worry about being stranded anywhere. There's grass everywhere for the horse to eat and replenish its energy. Plus, riding horseback allows you to avoid major roads, which criminals and bandits will likely use to ambush people for resources. Rick rides the horse towards Atlanta. He arrives at Atlanta and sees widespread destruction. Everywhere is abandoned. It's like a ghost town. Rick absent-mindedly rides by what he thinks are dead bodies in a broken down bus. Turns out they are zombies that just got woken up by Rick. The zombies are slow, so Rick just ignores them and keeps on moving. He hears a helicopter in the sky and looks around. He sees the helicopter and chases it, hoping it will lead him to meet living people. He accidentally turns into a road completely blocked by a large group of zombies. This is another major mistake. When you are in a city, especially one as densely populated as Atlanta, understand it has a lot of people that potentially can turn into zombies. You should not be drawing attention to yourself or galloping around at full speed, so you run face first into danger. Move slowly, carefully, and scout ahead at all times when you are in a densely populated area. Rick hightails it away from the zombies. The zombies chase Rick. Rick runs into another street surrounded by zombies. All the commotion is attracting zombies from everywhere towards Rick's location. He's surrounded by zombies and falls off his horse. The horse is piled on and eaten by zombies. He crawls under a tank to escape. The zombies crawl under the tank after him. The other end of the tank has zombies waiting for him. Rick is trapped. Then he sees the underside escape hatch of the tank and crawls inside it. He's inside the tank and stumbles upon a dead soldier's body. He steals a gun from the dead body. The dead soldier wakes up. It's actually a zombie. Rick quickly shoots the zombie in the head. Rick is disoriented by the loud sound of a bullet going off and rattling around inside the metal enclosed space. To escape the sound, Rick climbs out of the tank through the top hatch door. He sees zombies walking around the tank and the duffel bag he dropped full of guns and other equipment on the ground. The zombies see him and climb up the tank towards the hatch. This was another dumb idea by Rick. No matter how loud or disorienting it got after you fired a gun inside the tank, this is not the time to make rash decisions. Endure the noise and wait inside the tank until all the zombies are gone. Anyways, Rick closes the tank's top hatch so the zombies can't get inside. He contemplates committing suicide. Rick hears a voice from a radio in the tank say a not family-friendly version of, "Hey you, idiots in the tank, can you hear me?" And that's the end of this episode. But what do you think? What would you do differently if you were Rick? Let me know with a comment down below, and don't forget to subscribe to the channel for more of these kinds of videos. Thank you so much for watching. Leave a like and subscribe if you liked the video. Until next time, have a good day.